Tropical storm Danielle continues towards the Mexican coastline this afternoon. I'm Mike Naso from IPR's Hurricane Video Updates here on YouTube. I want to thank everybody who watches these updates. Been doing them a long time. I started doing them back in 2005, and while it's not what it used to be with the audio coverage, which you can find some of that on this page, I still don't want to give up on it just yet. There are people who still enjoy these updates, and I know that there are always going to be hurricanes out there, so if I could give some official information and some opinions and some entertainment even with these updates, I'm happy to do so. And it's been a long time since we've had a lot of big hurricanes in the U.S. I mean, '08 was a pretty nasty season, but nothing like 2004 and 5. And sooner or later we're going to get that type of season again, or not even that type of season, at least some storms like that season, which will cause a lot of problems. So you always want to keep an eye on the tropics and be safe. Now, this is the fourth named storm of the 2016 hurricane season, and by far that is a record, but that does not necessarily mean it's a harbinger of things to come. Here's the latest on Danielle as of 1 p.m. Central, 2 p.m. Eastern. It was at 20.7 north, 96.6 west. So it is moving west at 6, and you can see it's very, very close here to the Mexican coastline. It's expected to come inland and weaken. And it's not going to be a hurricane, although if it had a day or so over water, it might have become a hurricane, but conditions aren't extremely favorable for development. You can see pressure 1,007 millibars, and again, even though that track looks kind of broad, it's not going to be around that much. It's going to go right inland and weaken, but there could still be heavy rainfall. And of course, gusty winds, when the winds are gusting to 60 miles an hour with torrential rains, that could be pretty nasty. So that's kind of the situation we see right now with Danielle. You can also tell on the wind field that the winds are beginning to come onshore, the tropical storm force winds along the Mexican coastline. Now, the rainfall is going to be the big issue with this. We've already seen some reports of a lot of heavy rain with it, and when we look at the radar out of Brownsville, you can see some of the rain creeping closer to the Texas area, although the main circulation is off here where the radar echoes are not as strong, but you could clearly see the rotation inland, and you could always have severe weather coming in with some of these echoes as they push into the coastline. And that's going to be, again, the main concern with Danielle today. There's the satellite image of Tropical Storm Danielle, and you can see as it continues to move onshore, we do have the bursting pattern, but not very well defined at all based on that infrared. I'm not that impressed with it. And to be honest, you could see already some signs that it may be deteriorating on the southern side there as it moves inland, but nevertheless the bursting near the center is where the strongest winds and the heaviest rains are, and that is the main concern with this tropical cyclone. Again, rainfall is always a big concern. You can hide from the wind, but you cannot run from heavy rain or flooding with these tropical cyclones. Now, the wind shear over the top of it is not all that unfavorable. Not extreme wind shear that will tear it apart, but it's also not favorable for significant strengthening. And what you'll see with these shear charts is you could always tell when there's an anticyclone high pressure, you'll see a clockwise flow over the top of storms. So if a hurricane's eye is in the middle of this and it has the flow around it ventilating it, that's very favorable. In contrast, if the storm's down here and there's shear blowing from northwest or the northeast, that is less favorable for development. And as of right now, the center is right about here, so it is getting some shear, but not a significant amount. So, organization, semi-decent for a mid-range tropical storm. I've seen worse, but I've also seen a lot better. So, as of right now, Danielle, the biggest concern would definitely be heavy rainfall. That's what they're looking at right now along the Mexican coastline. The water temperatures, no problem in the Gulf of Mexico, very, very warm. And overall, the Atlantic seems pretty favorable for a decent hurricane season. So again, I would keep an eye out if I lived along the coastlines. You can see in the rest of the Caribbean Sea, we do have a pretty good tropical wave that's been moving along in the eastern Caribbean Sea towards the western Caribbean. Some heavy rain there for areas of Hispaniola. Little tiny wave off Africa. It's still too early. It's still late June. We've got plenty of time to watch that, and we will continue to do so here on the video updates. Eastern Pacific couldn't be more quiet. Actually, that's a little bit interesting as well, because sometimes when the Eastern Pacific is quiet, the Atlantic is more active and vice versa. So we'll wait and see how that goes. Right now, the only game in town is Danielle, and you can see it there pushing ashore along the Mexican coastline. We will continue to watch the tropics. Thanks for watching.